Good evening, everybody. It is 7 o'clock on Monday, August 5th, and we'll call this meeting of the Sault Ste. Marie City Commission to order. Could we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Gary.
Here.
Commissioner Bauer.
Here.
Commissioner Bospis-Rath.
Here.
Commissioner Gage.
Here.
Commissioner Habusta. Here. Commissioner Marble.
Here.
Commissioner Rubenstein.
Here.
All are present. Could everybody that can stand, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Mayor comments. I just have a couple comments tonight. I wanted to thank Calvin Carter, who through his employer Up North Advocacy put on an event called Linking Up Michigan, which is putting federal dollars to work in northern Michigan. He came and talked to us about it at one of our meetings in the end of the meeting. They had very good attendance, and the participants received good information from federal and state forces. This event brought a lot of people from all over to the Sioux, and I know that city manager attended, and I think, was it Kelly? Yep. Freeman also, so thank you very much for attending, and we look forward to more federal grants from the sources you found. On Sunday, August 4th, the U.S. Proudly celebrated the 234th birthday of the U.S. Coast Guard. Our own Coast Guard sector, Northern Great Lakes, had a Coast Guard Day celebration on Friday, August 2nd, 2024 at Sherman Park. And I want to thank Chief Ed Miller and Chief Wes Bierling. I was going to say for helping to cook, but they did all the cooking that day, and we had a great time, and very good to see all the Coast Guard families there. So great job, way to represent. Thanks for volunteering. Saturday, August 3rd was also the Twin Sioux Cruisers annual car show on Water Street, and this year the Mayor's Choice Award was a vintage Ford Thunderbird. And also on Saturday, we had downtown sales, sidewalk sales on Friday and Saturday, and also on Saturday was a sidewalk sales event that was coordinated by Lindsay Ellis that had vendors, food, entertainment, and activities. And I mention it because Sioux Police and Sioux Fire were both there with their booths and represented very well. And I know both chiefs were there, so thank you again for your participation and your visibility within the community. And I think probably Robin Troyer in her other role will talk about voting later. All right, so we will move on then in the agenda to item B, which is proclamations and recognitions. And if Chief Wes Bierling could come to the podium.
Thank you, Your Honor. I stand before you tonight as a very excited and proud chief. And I'm extremely excited about these three new officers that we've hired recently. And before I go into providing some information about who they are, I just want to talk about what it took as a department and as a city to bring in this high caliber recruiting class. As you may remember, last fall, you all approved an employed recruit project that the city manager and I brought forward, and two of these officers came from that program. I'm extremely proud of our detective bureau for their help with vetting these officers and putting our department and these officers through the standards to make them MCOLS licensable. I'm very proud of the work that the police department staff has done for our branding, for our outreach, for our marketability, helping make young officers or future officers want to come work for us. And that happens daily. You know, that brand that we have, the representation that the police department staff have for my department, our city, helps draw officers in, and it helps draw recruits in. And you know, we have a top-notch, state-of-the-art field training program, and that word's gotten out, and that's led by Sergeant Jerome Gapczynski. And that word's gotten out that, hey, come work for us. We're going to take care of you. We're going to provide you with the training and equipment that you need, and maybe some other departments aren't fortunate enough to do. And it really has brought us, I think, to the forefront in policing, and not just the Upper Peninsula, but specifically the EUP. And I'm very proud of the work that's gone into this recruiting class. but I'm also very proud individually of these officers, the schooling they went through before the academy, going through our department standards, MCOL's licensing standards, and a decision they've made to serve this community with honor and integrity. And I'd like to take a few moments and introduce them to you. First, I'd like to talk about Madison Bishop. Madison is one of 2 employed police recruits that we sent to the 2024 LSSU Police Academy. She grew up in Lakeview, Michigan, and she is a graduate of the Lakeview School District. And in 2023, she earned bachelor's degree from Lake State and also 2 associate degrees in criminal justice. She's been an auxiliary officer with Sioux PD since 2022. And in the summer of 2023, she was a seasonal parking enforcement officer. And also last school year, she was a crossing guard. And I'm extremely proud of Madison for her, before she even put this full uniform on, the service that she gave to this community already. And watching her grow with our department, watching other officers in our department mentor her, take her under their wing, help move her along towards this career. And I'm very thankful that Madison Bishop is with us today as a full-time police officer. I'd like to talk about Matt Thurston, next in line. He is the second of the 2 employed recruits that went through our employed recruit program. He is hometown boy, grew up in the Sioux, graduated from Sioux School District. And this year, when he graduated from the academy, he earned an associate's degree in criminal justice. And Mr. Thurston's been an auxiliary officer of ours since 2023. So it's great to see, again, people coming to our department, coming to our city employment and working through and moving up. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Owen Ennis. He grew up in Brimley and is a graduate of the Brimley School District. And this year, when he graduated from the academy, he obtained a associate's degree in criminal justice, homeland security. He has family and law enforcement here in the Sioux. We're excited about Owen coming to work for our department. Again, I want to thank the commission, city manager specifically, for the work in the Employed Recruit Project and the support of this department. And I cannot say it from the rooftops loud enough how proud I am of the Sault Ste. Marie Police Department, the several aspects of that department that helped bring this recruiting class in. I'm excited for the future. These officers, I have no doubt, are going to serve this community honorably and respectfully. And that's it.
Good. Congratulations. Are we stand up, Robin, or?
Does that look better?
Probably one of the freighters in the background. Thank you very much, Chief. Appreciate your positive words and outstanding class. And thanks for the rest of the officers for coming to show their support as well. We will move on into item C, which is public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that wants to make any comments on any scheduled agenda items? Yes, sir.
Under new business, item number 6. I think that's Cliff Anderson.
Okay. I got you down, Paul. Linda? E1. E1? Okay. Anybody else? All right, we will move on into item D, which is our consent agenda. Deputy City Manager Robin Troyer.
Thank you, Mayor. Under the consent agenda, 1, approval of the City Commission meeting minutes of July 15th, 2024. Item 2, acceptance of the Airport Advisory Board meeting minutes of June 13th, 2024. Item 3 is acceptance of the Downtown Development Authority meeting minutes of June 12th. Item 4 is acceptance of the Historical Development Commission meeting minutes of May 21st. Item 5 is acceptance of the Economic Development Corporation, Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, Tax Increment Finance Authority 3 meeting minutes of June 11th. Item 6 is acceptance of the Police and Fire Pension Board meeting minutes of June 19th. Item 7 is acceptance of the PEHP Police Patrol and Police Records Unit meeting minutes of June 20th. Item 8 is acceptance of the Sault Ste. Marie Housing Commission meeting minutes of June 20th. Item 9 is acceptance of the Tax Board of Review meeting minutes of July 2024. Item 10 is appointment of David Markham to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a partial term set to expire June 1, 2026. Item 11 is consideration of plan addendum to the MERS Healthcare Savings Program Participation Agreement for clerical unit, non-union employees to include the department heads. Item 12 is consideration of a resolution to exempt the city from the provisions of Public Act 152 of 2011. Item 13 is consideration of a bid award for welding of filter media at the water treatment facility. Item 14 is consideration of an OSHP enforcement and training grant application. Item 15 is consideration of a DNR snowmobile enforcement grant application. Item 16 is consideration of a memorandum of understanding with Delta Institute for Drinking Water Technical Assistance. And item 17 is approval of the consent agenda items as presented.
Thank you very much, Deputy City Manager. Would any commissioner like any of these items further explained or have any of them removed from the agenda for further individual consideration? Commissioner Habusta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question on item number 3, the acceptance of the Downtown Development Authority meeting minutes. Those meeting minutes reflect the posting of the DDA director position as well as a request to bring TIF 1 and TIFA 2 to the commission for a commitment to extension. Are those things going to be placed on our future agendas?
Yeah, we're waiting for TIFA 3 to have a recommendation. I felt it was best for TIFA 1, 2, and 3, since they have a tax implication for the city to kind of be taken in the whole. TIFA 3 should be having a recommendation at their next meeting, somewhere around there, and then it'll be followed up on the commission, probably say first meeting in September.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Bauer.
So moved, we approve tonight's consent agenda.
Support.
We have a motion and support to approve the consent agenda. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Moving on into E, special orders of business, number 1, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up first for commission consideration is a request to sell a piece of property to Miss Eden. Sorry. The subject property is located over on West 2nd Street, over by West 9th and West Easterday, in that area. If the commission wants to look up at the screen, it'll be a lot easier just to kind of show which property we're talking about. This is the property she currently owns, and this is the property being requested to purchase. Correct, Kelly? Correct. Given the shape and size of the property, we are requesting to waive the land purchasing bid or land sale policy. That was a tough one. Land sale policy and sell the property to Miss Eden for a dollar amount $3,000. So we would look for motion to waive the public auction requirement and sell the property to Miss Eden.
All right, so we have a request from Linda Basista for some comments. If you'd like to introduce yourself for the record, please.
Good evening, Mayor, Commission. Linda Basista, Riverside Drive, Sault Ste. Marie. And I'm here to talk about this particular agenda item. It's property that, since it's come to our attention that it's for sale, I'm also interested in possibly purchasing it for a small business that we have a CNC design and machining business that considering bringing to Sault Ste. Marie, and been looking for property in the industrial park or in the area of the industrial park, but it's just too large. So we just have a CNC machine and design. So interested in the property as well.
Thank you very much. And we'll open it up to commissioner comments. Commissioner Habusta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just say that we recently had a property that was, that had no adjacent, had us one single adjacent landowner who was interested in the property at that time. By size and by value, we're told that that would be something that the that administration recommended that we would sell to the neighboring property owner who was interested in it. Commission at that point decided to reject that and put that property out to bid. In my mind, I see no reason why we would not do the same thing here for consistency. At worst, we get $3,000 for the property. At best, people bid on it and the property receives more than that. So I would say that I would be very comfortable in bidding this property out as well. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner, any other comments? Commissioner Bauer?
Just a quick question, and not disagreeing with Commissioner Abusta at all, but my question is, does the possibility not exist, though, that if it is open to bid, that we could get less than $3,000 for this? Or does the bidding begin at $3,000?
So I believe the way we did it last time, and Robin or Kelly can correct me if I'm wrong, we took the assessor's established market value rate, which I believe in this particular item, it's 42,000, somewhere down there. And that was kind of our floor. So we wouldn't accept anything below that. So if only one person bid on it, and let's say it was $2,000, it would kick it out of the auction until somebody met that threshold for what we were looking for. Right, Kelly? Robin? Yes.
Well, clearly, I think if there's someone else who's interested in the property, then, in the interest of fairness, we need to open that up for bid.
Sure. Any other comments, questions? Is there a motion? Sure, Commissioner
I
Gage.
tend to agree with Commissioners Habusta and Bauer that, if we've got a party interested in bidding on it. So then just as a practical matter, would we vote this motion down, or would we vote then instead to list it? I guess, how do we vote to make that? I would be interested in putting on the
Do you
auction
want to make a
site.
motion to,
Well,
Right.
if I could just comment really quick. So the way we did it last time, because we pulled it, I believe we pulled it off the agenda, maybe we brought it back, but the motion was pretty specific. So for tonight, for this particular item, I would look for a motion to direct administration to place the bid on place the property on Gov Deals for a not to sell below price of X. You fill in the blank. The recommendation would be 4,200. It could be whatever you guys want it to be.
So moved.
Support.
been moved and supported. Any questions or comments?
And with that motion, I guess just so we're clear too, the motion will direct us to put on Gov Bids. We have a floor that we won't sell below. Once that is done, we will, the property won't come back to the commission. The sale will just be final. We'll sign the dotted lines and then it's done. So just so we're clear, this won't come back to the commission based on this motion tonight.
Commissioner Bosses-Rath.
Just a quick question. How many days will the bid option be open for someone to bid on it? Is it 30 days?
I believe last time we did about 30 days. I think we can set it to whatever we want, but we'll probably do 30 days.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Commissioner Rubenstein.
Thank you. Maybe I'm reading this wrong, but why even accept the initial offer of 3,000 if the minimum is 4,200 if it's going to go to bid? Like, even if there wasn't an interesting party in that case, why wouldn't we just bid it out every time at that minimum that's higher?
Because from my standpoint, there are circumstances, and this property would be one of them, where it makes sense to sell the property to the adjoining landowner. It's cut off by an alley, a right-of-way. and there is no adjacent property owners. So to me, the recommendation makes sense the way it was presented.
Thank you.
Keep in mind, under current law too, the money, the excess proceeds are going back to the state. So it won't go into the city's coffers. So we have motion and support. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on into item F, which is communications. Number 1, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission information is the 2023-2024 Annual School Resource Officer Report. I'll have turned over to Chief Beerling to bring up SRO Atkins.
Before Officer Atkins gives us his annual report, I need to take a moment and say a few words about him. I am extremely proud of his performance in year 2 as an SRO. As you know, it's a 3-year contract we have with the schools. We're on year 3, we're about to begin year 3. Trevor's just finishing up year 2. The impact that he has had on behalf of the police department and the city in the Sioux Schools District it's unmeasurable and it's amazing. And I am ecstatic about what he's done for our relationship with the school district, the teachers, the kids, the parents. And I'm looking forward to year 3. And Trevor is a great employee. He's a great police officer. He's a great community servant. And he's a fantastic SRO. And I just wanted to take a few moments and thank him. It's an extremely hard position, very busy position. He is not just involved with the SRO work, but he also does a lot of projects for me, helps me out with several things, and as well as other command staff officers. He's very, very busy. He manages his time well. He performs top notch. Just wanted to say that for a few minutes to Trevor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chief. Good evening, Officer Atkins.
Good
Welcome.
evening. So I wrote down what I'll say, and I'll read it from here. Otherwise, anybody from the school could tell you I could sit up here and fill the whole rest of the evening, and you wouldn't be able to get through the rest of the meeting. So
Do we need to set a timer?
you may have to. I kept it to 2.5 pages, though, so don't worry. So first of all,
We got time.
thank you guys very much. Good evening. I really appreciate the opportunity to serve as the SRO. It has been a very rewarding position, but challenging at times. However, the rewards definitely outweigh the challenges. So. First off, I'd like to thank Mayor Don Geary, City Commissioners, City Manager Brian Chapman, Police Chief Wesley Beerling, and the Superintendent Amy Kronemeyer, as well as the Sault Ste. Marie Area School Board for allowing the School Resource Officer position to be possible. The 2023-24 school year was my second year in the SRO position, as Chief has alluded to, and it was a great year. I'd like to take a few minutes to provide you with a brief report of my year as your SRO. The school year started out with me facing an unexpected injury at a training in September. Unfortunately, this injury caused me to miss roughly 13 weeks of the school year. And let me tell you, things did not stop when I was gone. It waited for me. I would like to thank all the officers who helped in the schools during my absence. Thankfully, I was able to have a quick recovery and picked off right where I left off. During my second year as an SRO, I wanted to focus on making student connections one of my top priorities. I made a great effort to be inside the classrooms as often as possible. I held many classroom presentations on several topics, including personal responsibility, online safety, vape and drug education, alcohol education, and many more. I participated in high school, middle school, and elementary school health fairs, presenting on various topics. I made several guest appearances in elementary classrooms reading books to the students. As the year went on, I was able to test my skills in gym class, playing volleyball, badminton, and of course, dodgeball. I worked with the high school student leadership to organize a first responder dodgeball game to support autism awareness. We had over 15 first responders playing the game representing the Sault Ste. Marie Area Police Department, the Sault Ste. Marie City Fire Department, Chippewa County Sheriff's Department, and the U.S. Coast Guard. And without going into any details, let's just say high schoolers are really good at dodgeball, and they won. As an SRO, safety and security remain a high priority during the school year. I worked with the district's newly created IT department to implement enhanced safety and security measures across the district. Together, we made necessary improvements to the district's security camera software and hardware, providing a real-time monitoring of our campus. We enhanced capabilities of our county dispatch center to have access to essential assets during daily and emergency operations. I worked with various administrators to develop tabletop exercises to test our district emergency response plan. I handled approximately 122 calls for service within the schools last year. This number reflects incidents where a complaint number was assigned. Examples of these calls for service are threats, assault, possession of a vape and or other tobacco-related product, well-being checks, 911 hang-up calls, and truancy, as well as social media-related complaints. This number does not reflect the countless number of times that I assisted school staff and students that did not require a complaint number to be generated. I had the opportunity to provide several training presentations for administrators, teachers, bus drivers, and other various school staff. Some of these training topics included 800 megahertz radio operation, threat assessment, safety and security, active violence, and many more. I'm scheduled to attend several trainings over the course of the rest of this summer and fall. Some of those trainings include Advanced SRO and MSP Team School. I've coordinated with our county-wide emergency training team to bring active threat mitigation training to the district this summer, and that's actually taking place here in August. To date, I have over 70 district employees slotted to attend that training. Prior to the start of the school year, I will be conducting several safety and security-related training courses for school staff and district coaching staff. I will also be hosting refresher courses for returning staff. This summer, I will be working with the district administration to further enhance our emergency operations. We'll also be working on revamping our district reunification plan, coordinating with several community partners. In summary, my second year as your SRO was a great learning opportunity that has helped me advance my skills as a police officer. Each day I'm in the schools, I further my department's commitment of having a positive and meaningful law enforcement contact with the students and staff of our schools. I will continue to serve the city of Sault Ste. Marie and the Sault Ste. Marie Area School District to the best of my ability, with safety, security, and community in mind. Thank you to everyone who has made and continues to make this position possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, officer. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Commissioner Habusta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly, School Resource Officer Atkins, as a parent within the school district, I truly appreciate the work you do and get to see it firsthand. I do have one concern, though. As Chief Beerling mentioned, we are in the third year of this contract with the school district. I'm wondering what other municipalities and school districts do to fund this, so we can make sure we long-term fund a school resource officer position within our school district.
That'd be more of a city manager question.
Yeah, I may
wanna
defer
answer
that. I mean, I'm sure I could come
Go
up
for
with an
it.
answer for that. And I do know what other districts do, but I may refer to the city manager and police
that's-
chief just for best.
I mean, there's a variety of different funding models. There's been grants to the state. There's been partnerships with school districts. It's been fully funded or partially funded by the local government unit or local unit of government. So, I mean, it really depends. I believe the intent, where the year 3 or going into year 3, the intent is to negotiate a new deal with the school district. Right now, the school is paying the vast majority of the program, but it doesn't sound like it's going away. So as long as the program is still there, we'll continue with the program. No? Am I speaking wrong? Oh, okay.
The SRO position, being funded by, most of it funded by the school, that was put in place before the grant funding became available from MSP. Obviously, Sioux Schools has taken advantage of that. With school coming into session here in a couple weeks, my plan is to sit down with Superintendent Kornemeyer and start having those talks about, what takes place after year 3. And I anticipate those will be very productive.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bross's-Wrath.
Great report. I like how you incorporate a lot of the trainings into the classrooms, and I think it's super important for kids to see police officers not just, out on the street and in the cars, but in the classroom, helping other students, helping staff. We all get help with the officers, so I think that's amazing. Work on your dodgeball skills for next year, probably.
Yes.
Maybe you can take on those high schoolers, but very informative. So thank you very much for what you do, because I know it is not easy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Anybody else? Appreciate the work that you do, Officer Atkins. As Commissioner Hubusta says, as a parent of a high schooler, it's nice to see you there and always hear good reports of your activities, so thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right, we will move on into item G, business items. Number 1, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is a simple task at hand here. So the Michigan Municipal League Annual Convention is coming up September 11th through 13th at Mackinac Island. The commission has to designate 2 voting members. One would be mayor as the primary, and then we need a alternate to serve in case he gets tied up for a variety of reasons.
Run over by a horse.
Yeah. So I believe that right now it's just the mayor and Commissioner Habusta that's going down to the MML. We haven't heard back from anyone else if they are, so kind of by default, unless somebody else is gonna say they're gonna go, we would look for a motion to appoint the mayor as the primary and Commissioner Habusta as the delegate, or the alternate.
Anybody like to make that motion? Commissioner Gage?
I certainly would love to make that motion and
Thank you.
support Commissioner Habusta being our other delegate, but
Support.
I was just also going to say that I don't know if you got it, but I RSVP'd too. I'm looking
Okay.
to go, so.
Oh, no, I did not, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
I'm glad you said that, yeah, no.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. G, business items, number 2, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is a request to award a bid for the purchase of radar signs, speed radar signs. Staff had this as a budgeted item in the CIP. They were originally looking at a trailer to put in certain areas. Over the course of a few different conversations, they started looking at some radar signs. The bid went out for radar signs as well as radar trailer, just to see what the prices are coming back. This particular item is requesting to purchase radar signs from Radar Sign LLC in the amount of $26,634, as well as a motion to increase the budget by $1,700, as it did just go over. So the radar signs are going to be solar powered. The plan would be have some in permanent locations and some in temporary locations. Part of the neat tools about these is that if we get a lot of complaints in certain areas, we can deploy them in the neighborhood. It'll track how many cars, their speed, so we can actually kind of get a handle around some of these complaints versus just, okay, we'll send an officer out there just to kind of sit, and we'll see what we get. So these will be an analytical tool for us as well as kind of an enforcement tool for the police department too. So 2 motions, motion to award the bid and motion to increase the budget by $1,700.
Thank you, City Manager. Any questions or comments? Commissioner Bauer?
I was wondering, where are some of the problem areas that we plan on targeting with these?
Would
What's that?
Dave or Wes, you guys have any ideas, any comments? Yeah.
They can be sporadic, typically construction. For instance, Ryan Street right now is a problem for us. Anytime there's a detour or people using a road they are not familiar with for main traffic, tends to be a problem for us. We often get complaints on Portage, 3 Mile, the Shallows. We get a lot of complaints out in the Shallows. So the complaints in the summertime are often different than the wintertime and vice versa. But when projects, the nice about the mobility of some of these signs, when projects pop up around the city and those problem areas are identified, we can respond to it.
Probably that nice new blacktop on Easter Day is going to be a question. Yeah. Yeah. Commissioner Hubusta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate it. Just a quick question, Wes. One of the things I didn't see in here is just effectiveness of these devices. Is there any sort of data that you can provide that shows the effectiveness of them. I mean, clearly I know when I'm crossing the Mackinac Bridge and I see that I'm going 65, I slow down, but I mean, is there any sort of data that you have that indicates that?
65 and a 45, Commissioner.
I slow
You
down.
heard it there.
I didn't hear
Chief.
anything. Your secret's safe with me.
Not his district.
I don't have any data on this. In fact, this would be the first community that I have worked in where we've done this. I think this is extremely progressive and forward-thinking. I can only talk to my personal experience driving. Those LED stoplights really pick out and really stand out. I'm sorry, the speed limit signs really stand out. My previous employment, we did have a speed trailer that we would deploy problem areas or on certain events, construction, and we found those to be extremely valuable. But as far as the affixed and mobile speed limit signs that we're talking about here, this is new to me as well.
So I would just say, we used them down in Vassar before I came up here. We bought about a half of a dozen of them, and we deployed them throughout the city. And I would say the ones that were permanent, they may have got a little stagnant to where people were still kind of shooting through there. But the ones that we moved kind of on a seasonal basis did slow vehicles down because it was kind of a new thing. The lights were flashing, so it really did have an impact. We had them in our gateways, and then during the school year, we'd put them over, we only had one school in the area, we'd put them over on the kind of the main drag over there, but we did see a decrease in speeders by the signs. And we had the data to prove it too. Like I said, it records all the metrics, so we actually had data to show that they were slowing down.
Thank you. Commissioner Gage.
I read a study just now that says that they effectively reduced the speed by 10 to 20%. So it's an interesting stat.
Any other questions? Commissioner Rubenstein.
I'm assuming no issues with these being solar powered in the wintertime.
Not that I know of.
I don't know if it's this company, but there was one company that we were looking at. They were out of Norway or Sweden or something like that. It was from a snowy climate made for these type of areas, so there would be no concerns.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Bosbus Rath, would you like to make, there are two separate motions?
Absolutely. Motion to award bid to Raider Sign LLC in the amount of $26,634 for speed signs.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any questions, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Commissioner Bosbus Rath.
Motion to amend the stock and equipment fund capital equipment budget by $1,700 from its fund balance.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion also passed unanimously. Thank you very much. G, business items number 3, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next is a request to award a bid for a utility truck for the water department. This item was bid out. The bid tabs are included in the agenda item. We received 2 bids back, one's for $74,000, one for $72,000. With some of the costs a little bit higher, it's coming back at $75,000. This was a CIP item, budgeted $85,000. We would look for a motion to award the bid to Ford, for a Ford F-550 flatbed to Bob Maxey Ford in the amount of $75,795.
Thank you, City Manager. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, Commissioner Habusta, would you like to make the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion to award the bid for a Ford F-550 flatbed utility truck to Bob Maxey Ford for the amount of $75,795.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. G, business items number 4, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission is another request to purchase a vehicle for the fire department, replacing out the current fire command vehicle. This was an item within the CIP. It was bid out. The bid tabs are included in the agenda item. This particular item has two motions. Motion to approve the purchase of one command vehicle in the amount of $70,909 to Palmasol Fire Equipment, and a motion to amend the capital budget in the amount of $5,900 with funding to come from the general fund.
Thank you, City Manager. Any questions or comments? I see the chief is relieved. It's not all police tonight. It's a little bit of fire. Commissioner Habusta.
Just a comment. I mean, I just be remiss not to mention that we are spending from our fund balance here. And one of the things that we've talked about quite frequently is our need for a vision and goal setting, especially when we look at spending from our savings. I think that's very important that we have that. Certainly this is a worthwhile purchase, but I do think it's important that anytime we look towards, spending from savings that we're aware of our fund balance but we're also aware of our vision and our goals as a community. So I would just reiterate the importance to have those. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Anybody else? Is this similar to the one that just went into service? Okay. Certainly is a showcase and a nice vehicle, good vehicle. Commissioner Rubenstein, would you like to make a motion?
Motion to approve the purchase of one command vehicle in the amount of $70,909 to Palmasol Fire Equipment.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any questions, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Commissioner Rubenstein.
Motion to amend the capital budget in the amount of $5,900 with funding to come from the general fund.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion also passed unanimously. Moving along, G, business items, number 5, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is a request to purchase 2 high-pressure hydraulic extrication pieces of equipment from Dingus Fire. Kind of long story short, Dingus Fire Equipment has a program where they donate certain pieces of equipment to fire academies of different universities and colleges. The communities in or near the universities typically have first right of refusal to purchase those equipments from the academy. I believe the academy holds on to them for about a year, and then they kind of rotate them out. Being the home community of LSSU, we have first right of refusal. Dingus approached the fire department to offer the 2 pieces of equipment up. Based on the normal market prices and what they're offering right now, which is about $8,800 below typical market. The equipment themselves are, I don't want to say barely used, but they're lightly used. Staff at the fire department has had an opportunity to look over them. Full disclosure, they work with them at LSSU too, so I mean, they've had their hands on them. They're good pieces of equipment. Because this is kind of a direct purchase, we are requesting a motion to exempt the purchasing policy. Again, this is the equipment that we typically would look to purchase through the bidding process. With the price coming in about $8,800, it makes sense. If we were to get away from this program and just bid it outright, chances are the prices would come back higher. So it's a first come, kind of first served program. They came to us. If we decline it, they'll move on to another community. So we have 3 motions: motion to approve the exemption, motion to award the purchase, and a motion to amend the budget for this item by $700.
Thank you, City Manager. So I'm understanding that this particular equipment was used by Lake Superior State University's Fire Science program. And so some of the people that we may have hired also have been able to use this same equipment, so they're, okay. Thank you, Chief Miller. Okay, great, thanks.
The equipment was used by Lake State. Some of our newest hires have used it, and it's maintained by the company that donates it to the university for that period of time. So it's in great shape, something that we probably couldn't take advantage of the pricing. The other advantage is it is the same tools that we have currently. So we're replacing a 16-year-old set of extrication equipment that really is not effective on newer vehicles with the same brand, which allows us to have our trained staff still care and maintain the type of equipment. So it just fits really well.
Certainly, time is of the essence when you're using equipment like that.
Yes.
Any questions, comments? Commissioner Rubenstein?
Just reading through this, I think it makes a ton of sense and seems like a great program. And it's nice to hear that some of the newer firefighters have had their hands on this and had experience with it. So.
Some of the older ones have too.
No.
With help of at the Fire Academy, so I have to give them credit.
Commissioner Habusta?
Yeah, just two questions for the chief. First of all, do we know how many hours of usage these machines have on them?
If I looked at the maintenance report, I believe it has the hours on them, but it's very low. If it was even close to 20 hours, it would be high. Most of the training that they do for extrication training throughout the academies are usually about a couple 8-hour days. So it's not really a lot of work. So batteries are good, and it has passed through the AMCIS service department, recertification of it being like new.
Thank you. Just the only other question I had was when in our content here it mentions a significant discount of almost $9,000 from its regular price. Is that the new price, or is that a resale price of a year-old unit with 20-plus hours?
You don't see year-old tools being sold. The new price would be $9,000 more, and that's where we get the great advantage of being able to purchase this, or having it offered for us to purchase. It does allow us to get an extra tool that was not feasible at the time, which would be an extension ram, which would benefit us, especially with the types of hazards that we're seeing not only on the roadways, but with the hazards and potential hazards we have currently going on with the LOX project. We don't have the right equipment for some of the rescues that would or could happen if somebody was injured there. So this sort of fills two gaps. It's not just about vehicle extrication. It's for machinery, commercial and industrial accidents. And the new style equipment allows us to be a lot more flexible with those rescues.
Thank you. Certainly I understand the need for it and the value that it provides. The only question I was just trying to get at there was, we don't necessarily have a resale price for this unit. We only have a new price, correct? So when we talk about a discount, we're talking about a discount off a new unit, not a used.
Yes, correct.
unit.
And any used equipment that we would look at would be heavily used. Usually, if you see it online, it's a couple 5, 10, 15 years old, and we're right back where we're at right now. So you don't see this type of pricing on new equipment.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Chief, what kind of warranty do they offer? Is it
It's their full regular warranty.
full warranty?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Gage?
Sounds like it's like basically new. So with that, I'm gonna make the motion to approve an exemption of the purchasing policy.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Commissioner Gage?
Motion to award the purchase of the high-pressure hydraulic extrication equipment to Dingus Fire Equipment in the amount of $30,695.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Number 3, Commissioner Gage.
Motion to amend the fire capital equipment line item for an increase in the amount of $700 to come from the general fund balance.
Support.
Move and support. Any questions, comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you, Chief. Under G, business items, number 6, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is the last bit of results for the Polar Concession Hood at the Polar. In the agenda item is kind of the timeline that the commission's gone through since its inception. Kind of fast forward to now, we rebid the project out. We have the bid tabs included in your item. I believe we received one bid back from one provider. To kind of wrap this up, we're bringing that to the commission for authorization. The bids came back a little bit higher than what the funds are available, so there's two motions this one. Motion to increase the project budget by $30,000 from $80,000 to $110,000, with funds coming from the general fund. Motion to award the bid to Rob Sales and Service in the amount of $98,200.
Thank you very much, City Manager, and Paul Andrew would like to make some comments. I see we have Bruno in the audience. We also have Rob Baker from Rob Sales, Service and Sales too, if you have any. Oops, sorry. We have lots of people in the audience. Thanks for attending. Thank you. Paul, when you get to the microphone, if you could state your name for the agenda, please. Record.
Okay, my name is Paul Landry, and I'm with the Friends and Supporters of the Puller Stadium. I'm here for the consideration of a budget amendment and the award of a bid for the Puller concession exhaust. What you have in front of you is a bid from 2020 to Danny Wires for, I think it's $32,000 without electrical, but that is not the Eagle equipment. I'm just putting that to you so that you can see what the price was. So this has been bid 6 times now, and this month it's 6 years. And I know you guys are tired of hearing this. Okay, the manager states they bid Eagle equipment out on various occasions, so that they obviously have the sizes and the specifications for such. But yet the bid that was drawn this time, there's none. They were totally, it just says install owner supplied equipment. I came to you guys in February, and that was the previous bid, and that was not our equipment, and I asked 2 contractors to come in with the Michigan mechanical inspector and to subplant our equipment in their bid. The bids came in at $40,000 and $75,000 without the pad and the privacy fence. And the low bidder at that time was Rob Baker. Then you guys directed that, or whoever decided you're going to do electrical appliances. That didn't work out. What we're suggesting to you is that you do not need to supplement what you currently have budgeted. $30,000 isn't required. It can be done, and these 2 gentlemen will explain how it can be done. Jim, if you'd come up, please. On your, there's a bid form, second or third page from the end. And what we're going to speak to, or what Jim's going to speak to, and he is a licensed mechanical engineer, is the roof structure, and it's automatically inserted in the bid for $25,000, and some type of steam coil contraption, of which there's no drawings and no spec. So go ahead.
Yeah, we don't really have any roof work to do for this project, so we don't need the $25,000 that was put in there. We need a little bit just for some snow protection for our fan that's on the wall, but no real roof work. Nothing of that extent at all. So I'm not really sure what that $25,000 was for, even to begin with, because we're going out the wall. We're not doing anything at the roof level. Our equipment sits on the ground. Our other fan is mounted to the wall. So, and then they've been talking about a steam coil. It's hard to do this 100% outside air with a steam coil. You really have a high chance of it freezing and bursting, and just turning into a maintenance nightmare and having to be replaced. These are typically done with gas-fired equipment. So the current bid, you guys have looked at buying a gas section to add on to the fan that they've already supplied to them. So then it would just be a gas-fired unit, and the gas meter is right there. So the gas piping in would be a simple thing to do, and get rid of the complications of the steam coil and the risk of it freezing and the controls associated with that and everything, so.
Okay, Mr. Baker is here, who is the low bidder, okay? And he'll tell you that he can do the job for $68,200 that's remaining in bid. Rob, you want to know this? And Rob has graciously did it previously. Okay. So,
Just gonna hear them out and then we'll go
We
with
put
the
these,
original,
I do these equipment all the time, and people have restaurants and stuff like that, they send them outside, they don't, all the snow can go on them and stuff, it's just what happens, you don't need to
Just
protect them.
Speak in the microphone, Rob, please.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
So-
sorry. So, I just recommend, maybe if there's something that comes off the roof directly to the thing, maybe have something that diverts that fan. But I had an idea to put the fan, I've done quite a few of these units, that they sit, instead of horizontally, or vertically, they sit horizontally. They push out from the wall, so that helps two things, that the snow doesn't get caught up inside the hood, it just goes around the hood. And then also, it pushes the greasy air away from the building instead of seeing a big old streak going up the side of the building of grease, you know? So that's a couple of my recommendations.
Okay, so Rob, you are the bidder on the project, so.
Yes.
So we, as the commission, are looking at the recommendation that was given to us by the manager. And if it were to be passed, then certainly you can talk to the manager, or the city engineer about any
Yeah.
cost
I'd work
savings
with
or.
the city to try to get that
yeah.
bid down,
Okay.
comfortable and do a great job and professional job.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you coming and appreciate the bid, and certainly any of that discussion would happen after the meeting, probably with the.
Make the modification now, Mr. Mayor?
What we would do is look at it, and we are taking the recommendation, and we would approve it, and then any negotiations could happen after that. So we would approve it up to a certain level. So. None of us are experts like our engineering department or our DPW or city manager, so what we will look at is do we approve it as a project and move forward, so. Thank you, Paul, appreciate it. So do we have any questions, comments before we, Commissioner Marble? Would you like to make a motion?
Yes, indeed I would. Motion to increase the project budget by $30,000 with funds coming from the general fund.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions, comments? Commissioner Habusta.
Yeah, I mean, to be quite frank, I'm just hearing from a contractor that we can do this project without increasing the project budget. And I understand that comes at a, last minute for you, for all of us here around this thing. But at the end of the day, do we need to increase the project budget? I mean, I'm totally fine with not and doing a change order if we needed to. But, the contractor who bid on the project this year telling me that it can be done within the project budget, I struggle why we would.
I didn't hear the $30,000 amount from Mr. Baker, and
That's
I guess
true.
I would leave that up to the engineering department and any of the officials that have to do the inspection on the job. So I think if we give them, a cap and accept the bid where it was, and then they can negotiate after the meeting. Commissioner Gage.
So the way that this works, as I understand it, right, is that really at this point what we're voting on as a commission is whether or not to move forward with the project or
Correct.
not. And then the
Exactly.
city manager and city engineer are going to work with Mr.
Correct.
Baker and all the different parties and things like that to come to a finalized thing of what gets installed where. So
Correct.
Any of these concerns can be addressed that way, and it's not necessarily up to us to dig into deep
Correct.
on it. It's to move forward or to not move forward.
Correct. You done? Commissioner Bauer?
I beg to differ with what Commissioner Gage just said, because this motion is not whether or not to move forward with the project. This motion is whether or not to increase the budget by $30,000. And, you know, I just heard from Rob Baker, and let me say, in the interest of 100% full disclosure, Rob Baker does a lot of work for me. He's very good. I trust him implicitly. And I think he's going to do a fine job on this project as he does with the others, and the others being mine. And if he stands there and says he doesn't think we need $30,000, I don't see any reason why we should. I mean, if for some reason we need to bump that up, we approve change orders all the time, like Commissioner Habusta said. So, I mean, I'm ready to, you know, kick aside motion 1 and get on with motion 2. Personally, if you all want to increase the project budget by $30,000, then be my guest, but I'm not going to vote in favor of that based on what I just heard now. And maybe I misheard, but Rob Baker, did you not, the contractor, the bidder, say that we do not need an additional $30,000?
Mr. Baker, if you could come up.
It wasn't my amount that was put in there. It was already in there before I got the bid package. So that, like, I think it was $25,000,
What I-
$25,000.
Yeah, that line item was 25, yeah.
Yeah,
Correct me if I'm wrong, you
line
said
4.
that there were some things that you could do that could lower the price, cause some efficiencies, but you
Yeah,
didn't
I
give
could-
us a specific dollar amount.
can increase
because
the
you'd have to
duct-
work those out with.
The duct
Yeah.
thickness to withstand any snow load that we'd have, and you wouldn't have to have maybe not a hideous looking roof structure over it in front of the polar.
Okay, just real quick. I mean, the typical process that we do on these things, staff bids out a project, it comes back like this. After the bid is awarded, after we are sure we have money in the account for these things, there's always a conversation between the project manager and the contractor about different options. I mean, that's very, very common, all the way from the car buy dock to the truck that we just purchased earlier for the fire department. There's always after award conversations. Generally, the threshold is if it's gonna lower the project, awesome. We're all about that, but if it's gonna increase the project costs, then we have to figure something else out. No respect, or no disrespect to anybody in here. I really would urge the commission not to make this a precedent of having, whether it's the bidder or somebody else that's a supporter, come to the commission and really provide too much guidance and oversight on this whole thing. We bid it out a specific way. This is our project. We know what's gonna happen. We work directly with the contractor, nobody else. If the contractor comes online and says, hey, I've got some cuts, I think we can do X, Y, and Z instead of A, B, and C, awesome, we will do it. But I would not recommend the commission open up the can of worms of where anybody and everyone who bids it or supports it for any project comes forward and really starts giving too much input on something that, at the end of the day, their jobs aren't on the line for it, like Director Perrin or myself is. I just wouldn't do it. I strongly urge against that.
Especially if there's more than one bidder.
Correct.
Yeah.
May
All
I
right,
say
so-
one more thing?
Yeah, Commissioner Bauer.
Based then on those comments, I understand you, and I hear you on that. And although I would hope that we could get this done more cheaply, I am at this point then, due to the fact that I can see where you don't want to set a precedent, I would be in favor of increasing the project budget with the knowledge that it's probably not going to need that anyway. I mean, I trust the direction we're going as it is. So,
So we have any other questions or comments? We have motion and support, correct? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passed 6-1. City manager, would the second motion then read any differently than we have it there for the award? Will it be as negotiated by?
No, just do it as it is.
Okay.
And if there's anything official change order wise, we'll bring it
After.
back to the commission. But again, if it's just a change in the project scope that gets us to the outcome, the dollar amount is less, we should be all set.
Perfect.
Usually it's when we have to do change order because it's gonna be more money than we
Yeah.
already have the budget. This one, if it's gonna decrease the project like we say it's going to, then we should be straight with what we have.
Commissioner Marble.
Thank you, Your Honor. Motion to award the bid to Rob Sales and Service in the amount of $98,200.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much, and thanks to everybody for your comments and your patience. We're moving on into G, business items, number 7, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is a request to accept a FEMA Assistance to Firefighters Grant in the amount of $234,000. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are looking for a motion to accept the FEMA Assistance Firefighter Grant in the amount of $234,666. The commission may recall, we kind of spoke on this, I believe, the last meeting. We turned down a couple of planned purchases that were going to be incorporated into this project. With this item, we have 3 motions. Motion to accept the grant, motion to amend the current FEMA grant project budget to add $246,000 for 2024 with funding from grant and local match of $11,800, essentially setting up the project budget. And then a motion to amend the budget in the general fund capital fire equipment with the reduction of $55,000 to remove items covered by the grant.
Thank you, City Manager. Any questions or comments on this item? Commissioner Gage.
I just wanted to make a clarifying statement that in my day job, certainly the Senator's office provides a lot of support letters and that kind of thing for these grants. I just want to make a clarifying statement that neither myself nor the Senator's office were involved in any way with helping on this specific thing. So I should have no ethical reasons why I need to abstain and that kind of stuff, but I wanted to make sure that it was clear so that there's avoidance of any appearance of impropriety or anything like that. So.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Bauer, would you like to make these motions?
I would love to. I move that we accept the FEMA Assistance to Firefighter Grant Award in the amount of $234,666.66.
Support.
It's a rough number. Yeah. It's been moved
Now
and
my
su-
head's gonna spin now.
Moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Commissioner Bauer.
I
passed
further
unanimously.
move to amend the current FEMA grant project budget to add $246,400 for 2024 with funding from the grant and a local match of $11,800 from the general fund.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion also passed unanimously. Commissioner Bauer.
I move to amend the budget in the general fund fire capital equipment with a reduction of $55,000 to remove items covered by the grant.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any questions, comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Under G, business items, number 8, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is a request to approve an agreement between the City of Sault Ste. Marie and Sugar Island Township for the Sault Ste. Marie Fire Department to provide ALS and transportation services Included in the item is the contract, which has been kind of hashed out between the fire department, our city attorney, and representatives of Sugar Island. Kind of long story short, Sugar Island doesn't necessarily have the coverage for its residents anymore. They're looking for a more of a long-term solution. Kind of the last couple of years, we've picked up coverage for the island kind of in an interim basis, primarily in the summer. I believe Sugar Island, a lot of their first responders are students at LSSU. Summertime comes around, they leave the island, they're left kind of on the hook there. So what we've proposed is an annual program. We'll be the primary provider for the services. Instead of a per-run fee, that kind of leaves us in a position of equipping and billing ourselves out to handle the calls. They will be contributing a dollar amount per capita per year so that we have that revenue stream kind of coming in, so we're always ready to serve them. So the contract is attached. Some of the more particular points are in there. I think on average, it's probably been about 4 or 5 calls a month so far. I believe that's what last month's report was, about 4 calls to Sugar Island. We do feel that we can handle it. I mean, the process between the fire department to the ferry to the island and back down can be a considerable amount of time. There's been kind of some assistance roles put into the island. The first responders on the island will serve as first responders as our ALS services come on board to the island. The kind of what would be typical increase from Sugar Island, we feel we can handle that. Some of our other calls for service have declined, and some of the other tasks that we've done, so we feel we can handle this moving forward. So again, a lot of the other details are kind of in that agreement there. Chief Miller is obviously here if you have any other questions. Otherwise, we look for a motion to approve the interlocal agreement as presented.
Thank you, city manager, and thank you, chief. Who pays for the ferry? Is that the township, or do we bill it?
Township.
Okay. Every time?
Yes.
Whether we get paid or not?
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Gage.
Just a question. I know that, like, you know, certainly throughout the Upper Peninsula and rural Michigan, struggling with EMS services is a big problem for a lot of townships, that kind of stuff. I know that specifically in Chippewa County, that Bruce Township, Sioux Township, Pickford, they've really struggled. And so I don't know, I mean, like, certainly don't want to open a can of worms and that kind of stuff, but if we thought about some sort of way that we can expand and do some sort of a regional authority or something like that, I don't know. I mean, I know that that might be way more difficult and cost prohibitive than it's worth, but I don't know if there's been any thought about that.
I will start off and then you can follow in. So big picture wise, there has been some conversations about a countywide system. Now, when I say countywide, I don't want to say Chippewa County, the governmental organization. The providers of EMS have kind of gotten around the table. There was you can call it a plan at one point, but I think a lot of the other providers kind of turned away from it. I know Chief Miller has worked with more of our closer areas to see if we can provide coverage. Again, our biggest thing is maintaining what we have and the coverage we have to provide to our citizens. If there's room to take on some extra, we will. I think the model, we've kind of switched a little bit. So in the past, we would charge per run. And what that really left us on the hook was building an entity this big on revenues this big to handle somebody else's problems. So if we do go further with something like this, and why we really like the Sugar Island model, is they're contributing money regardless of the run call so that we can build up to this based on this to be able to handle those calls. Our primary will always be the city residents, which are primary taxpayers. But if there's room to do it, we are more than open to have those conversations. But Chippewa County itself is a very large rural area, and it would take more than just us, obviously, to do it. But there have been some conversations. Let's see if Chief Miller has anything else to comment on that I didn't already say.
In what we do, we really focus on what's in the best interest of the patient, not just geographically what looks good on paper. You know, everybody wants an ambulance in their backyard, but some of the backyards have a lot more trees than they do people. and it doesn't make financial sense to have an ambulance in every point. The nice thing about the agreement with Sugar Island is they actually approached us, and we worked collaboratively, and they still have a lot of autonomy, so if one day they have enough staff again, they can be up on their own. Some of the other talks that have gone on in the county are more of a all or nothing. You know, the agencies or the communities give up what they currently have, buying into these new associations, and then they don't have those resources anymore. Where we're encouraging Sugar Island to keep their equipment, keep trying to build up their staff, just like we try to do with Sioux Township and anybody else that we help with. So we look at it more as a collaborative effort, and you know, if they have 100 people that move on the island that are all EMTs, great for them. But in the meantime, we're here to help them out.
Commissioner Habusta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just looking for some insurance here. Chief, current and future staffing situations, do those allow for appropriate coverage for city residents while extending services to Sugar Island?
Yes, and that's our primary focus is the city. That's what we're here for. And anything we do above and beyond that, we try to make sure that we have adequate staffing and coverage, even if that means that I'm on an ambulance and show up at your house. So good luck. No, I'm just kidding. But we do
You know
look
where
at
to
that,
find it, at
and,
least.
as this grows and as we have a better funding source, then we can look at opportunities maybe to add if in the future, but it can't come at the cost of the city residents. These people, the groups that we help, need to help fund it to do it right. We also have good working relationship with our mutual aid, especially with My Michigan EMS having an ambulance in town now. That puts another ambulance in play that's close by if they're not on a long distance transfer. And they have actually eased up our workload a little bit for calls for service for interfacility transfers from the hospital to Meadow Lodge or another assisted living facility. So the timing was right. You know, we've really balanced our runs with the amount that they've taken off our plate to be able to handle what we currently are looking at for Sugar Island.
Just done? No.
One last
More?
point on
Sure.
the regional thing is I think that I agree with, and I appreciate the approach. I mean, certainly as a city government, our priority has to be city residents first. I think that your approach to bolstering what they've already got, and we're supplementing and helping, that's good. And I just think that, you know, I hope that there's a way for potentially county government to get involved and potentially step in and provide some additional funding and that kind of thing. So certainly hope that folks involved with the county government or running for county government hear that, so.
Sitting against the back wall. Commissioner Bauer.
My apologies in advance because the comments that I have on this are actually not relevant at all to the recommended action, but they're not totally off topic. And that is that at the last meeting, in mentioning Chief Miller's reports that we've been getting and really, I don't want to say advising, but suggesting that you all make a point to read those. And I also read the last one too, and the information in that report and how many runs we're making to Sugar Island and everything, which are, really enlightening and relevant to this. I just wanted to say thanks for that information because it helps us all of us who read it anyway, to make more educated decisions on matters such as this.
Any other?
More information is always a good thing.
It is, certainly makes sense, and it's nice to see the $107 per, or whatever the dollar amount is. Just one question, if we were to get our adjoining townships to agree to 425 agreements, does that entitle them to police fire protection if they're on the outskirts, or is that?
Typically, 425 agreements, municipal services will be provided by the municipality. There's some wiggle room in there for things like zoning and elections and stuff like that, but typically with 425 agreements, it does fall under the, it's typically city to township. It does usually fall under the city to provide those services.
Okay. All right, who would like to make this motion? Commissioner Boststrath.
Thank you, Mayor. Motion to approve the interlocal agreement with Sugar Island Township for Sault Ste. Marie Fire Department to provide advanced life support and transportation services with the city manager and city clerk authorized to sign all documents.
Support.
Move and support. Any questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you. Last item is number 9, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is a request to go into closed session pursuant to Section 8C for negotiations and 8D for real estate purposes. If you would like to shorthand this, I would just say motion as presented. But
So moved.
if you want to read it all, you're more than
Support.
welcome to.
So moved is even shorter. It's been moved and supported. We can go into closed session and not returning, correct?
Correct.
Any questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Who supported that? Oh,
Any
thanks.
opposed? Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you. Under item H, City Manager announcements and updates.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple things tonight. I know the park system's kind of had some vandalism lately again. So just a quick update. So the commission recall, we did implement park security staff this year. This was the first time in a number of summers that we've had this in there. Park security staff are the auxiliary officers with the police department. They have a route they go out. I think they're 7 nights a week, correct? Yeah, 7 nights a week. They are on patrol. They're the ones that typically handle a lot of our locking up of the facilities afterwards. We did talk about park security cameras at one point last week. We had one of the demos installed this week. We've got 2 more going in. As we continue to go through that, there's some more conversations about what type of cameras we need. Like I said, the one that we had installed last week, it's one thing just to have a camera that's going to record something after the fact and you get the information. The cameras that we installed last week have notifications on there so that if there's a time period where there's no movement, something happens, somebody can get an alarm or a notification that says there's something going on. Hopefully we can stop more of those things. So we've been working with 2 vendors. I think we worked with 1 local vendor. They're ranging right now from $12,000 per unit to $4,000 per unit. And I believe the one we had last week that we like is the $4,000 unit. So, like I said, we got 1 installed last week, got a couple different ones going in this week, and we'll look to kind of make that decision here in the next few days, bid it out, buy the rest of them, get them installed here. So, that's all I really got for updates right now.
Any Commissioner Hubusta?
Just a follow up on that. Then you know, I want to. I believe these need to be installed as quickly as possible. We had heard that the timeline earlier that they would already be installed, and just haven't had a whole lot of updates on there. And so is there a timeline for installing these and making sure? Do you have a timeline to finish this project?
We got 1 installed last week. We got 2 installed this week. We are meeting with the vendors to kind of give more of the coverage areas. So, what are you thinking, Tyler? Fall. We can bid it out and get the other ones in there. We're probably looking at, I think we were talking about it last week, probably looking at about 10 cameras. Yeah. So like the one that we have, one of them that we have has got a very wide, is a very wide kind of shot of the area. Some of them will need to be a little bit closer in there. So part of it's working with the vendor to come up with a plan on all the corners and all that stuff. Like I said, I don't think the cameras are the go-to be-all, end-all solution. We will still have issues in the future, but making sure we have the right system in place that gives those notifications. Otherwise, we're just recording the stuff done, and when we find out or we're notified about it the next morning, 2 days, 3 days later, hopefully we have the cameras in the right position. Hopefully we're getting some footage. So I'm betting more money on we can stop these things with the right cameras with the notifications. So we've got the ones in there. We're working out the plan. We continue to work out the plan. We'll have to RFP. We'll have to bid these out and get them up, get them in, get them installed. So it shouldn't take much longer.
I just wanted to ask that question
Okay.
on his.
All right. So they're demoing these units for us? Is that what they're doing?
Yeah,
Okay,
yep.
all right,
And we have 30 days, and then we can buy them.
okay. Any other questions for the city manager on his report or any other items? All right, item I is matters that presented by the public. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to bring any matters forward? Sure, come on up, Bruno, if you'd state your name for the record, please.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Bruno Roganiello. I'm the general manager for the Sioux Eagles hockey team. First off, we run the concession stand. I'd like to thank the city commission for passing the budget for the new concession. It'll definitely help our revenue situation. And the other thing I like to, first of all, this is my 15th year I'm going to be here in Sault Ste. Marie. I feel privileged and honored to be running a hockey team out of that building there. It's probably one of the most iconic rinks in North America. And I just love the Puller. I truly love it. And as with any buildings with that age, it's, there are problems. And I think one problem that can be, maybe I'm asking the city to look into, respectively asking them to look into, because I think it would enhance the longevity of the building in the long run, is, when we first start up every year, the weather, it's warm out still usually, and sometimes there's humidity, and it takes a while for the building to acclimate to where it eliminates the humidity and the water on the glass and all that stuff. But I've done my due diligence in this, and I've spoken to many of the old or ex-employees, previous employees over the past, up until 30 years ago, and all of them to a T tell me that when they've had that problem, they would turn on the exhaust fans on the roof, and it would alleviate that problem. And I do know that's true because we've experimented with that, and even the current staff there has helped us. The problem there is, I'll explain the situation. There's 2 fans on the west side of the scoreboard, and 2 fans on the east side. Okay, on the east side, the first fan closest to the scoreboard is blowing in, and the other one blows out. On the west side, the one closest to the scoreboard does not work at all, and the one on the next one, the bigger one, that blows out. So what happens though is if we turn, and these 2 are run on one circuit breaker, and the west ones are run on another circuit. They run on another circuit breaker. When you turn them on, the problem is the one on the east side, the one blows warm air in, and it sucks it out. And when it's blowing the warm air in, it's melting the ice at the neutral zone, okay? So what we did last year, we wouldn't turn that one on. We would turn the west side on. We had the one fan, the bigger one, and it did help. I mean, it would definitely clear up the humidity, get rid of it. I'm just asking if the city could go up there and fix this, because what I believe happened when they put the new roof in, the contractors put the new roof in several years ago, I'm sure they probably refurbished those fans that were up there, and I'm not an expert, I'm not, anything like that, but I've spoken to a couple of the older employees, previous ones, and they think that maybe it was rewired accidentally to blow in. They all told me that they all blew out. All 4 fans blew out, and that's how they controlled and got rid of the humidity, and it seemed to work. As a matter of fact, the Puller Stadium was open all summer long sometimes. He said during the summer when they were open all summer long, they would open up the doors at the end, and that would help and turn on all 4 fans, and they would get rid of it. And it does work, but unfortunately, we could only use the one on the west end. Even if they just connected the small one on the east side and just used the 2 big ones, I think it would help immensely. I'm not sure if, the contractors that did that should come back and look at it, or if maybe some of the city workers, electricians or something could look at it. I'm not sure all the ins and outs of how the city operates, but, I think it's something, if it was looked into, and it would definitely help enhance and, the longevity of the Puller, because it would alleviate a lot of the water dripping from the pipes, from the girders and from the glass and all that. So, but again, I want to thank the city commission for approving the hood bid, and if they could look into this, I would, I think there's something there. And that's it.
All right, thank you very much, Bruno, and thanks for your commitment to City of Sault Ste. Marie and Puller, and you'll have a new coach this year, so it should be an exciting year. Anybody else in the audience have any comments? City Commission, matters presented by the City Commission. Commissioner Habusta.
Just two comments. First of all, I continue to have citizens and especially visitors to the area ask me about our parking meters in 24 hours, which many of them still indicate we have 24-hour parking. I think that's something we need to resolve quickly. So I just bring it to the city manager's attention. And then I would also add that in 2 Saturdays, not this Saturday coming up, but the following Saturday, is annual Riverfest, an event which brings about 600 children down to Rotary Island for a great day of family fun. Nothing beats a day on St. Mary's River, and I would just invite people to come on down 9 to 3 at Rotary Island Park.
9 to 3 on, is it Saturday?
Saturday the 17th.
All right. Thank you very much. Commissioner Bauer?
Yeah, one thing real quick. A week from tomorrow, we're hosting a Brat fundraiser for hospice at Sioux Brewing Company. We did one in July to help the homeless, along with Community Action Agency, and raised over $1,000. So that was fairly successful, and I hope to see you all out there a week from tomorrow to help hospice.
Thanks, Commissioner. Anybody else? Commissioner Gage on his
Two quick
seventh
things.
to last meeting.
Seventh to last meeting. Two quick things. One, I just want to wish our neighbors to the north in Canada a happy civic holiday, which is today. I don't know what a civic holiday is, but they have it, and that's wonderful. And then two, I think we got an email earlier, but this is some relatively good news. I don't know what the status is of it, but it looks like Easter Day Avenue will be opening up maybe today or tomorrow or soon. And that, as somebody who lives on East Bruce, is going to change my life in a much more improved way. It's been such a pain driving around that. So thank you for getting that done. And the last thing is just a reminder that tomorrow is the midterm or the primary elections. I know that we were going to talk about that, but just don't forget that tomorrow is election day, so don't forget to get out and vote. And I don't know if you wanted to have other people talk about that. But
Sure, if you don't mind. Deputy City Manager, also Clerk, HR Director, and Building Maintenance Supervisor, and et al. But in your county clerk or your city clerk role, could you update us on the election, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Yep, tomorrow is Election Day. It is a primary, so when you go to vote, you have to stay in your lane, Democrat or Republican. There are a couple proposals on the ballot. The polls open at 7 a.m. They close at 8 p.m. All city precincts are up at LSSU and the Student Athletics Center. There is construction on Meridian. City Engineer Boyle has assured me that access will be there off of Easter Day. So voters, if you go off of Easter Day, you'll be able to access Lake State, the parking lot. And again, voting is in the Student Athletics Center. Opens at 7, closes at 8.
Excellent. Any thoughts on how the first 9 days of voting went? Is it a smashing success to have the early vote? Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay. Too soon to tell. This is year 2, I think, right? Yeah. All right, thank you. Commissioner Bauer.
Your Honor, I move that we adjourn this meeting and go into closed session.
support.